I watched the movie Swiss Army Man with two different groups of people. The first group of people, who I forced to watch it, absolutely hated it. The second group thought it was one of the greatest and most original things they have ever seen. I really cannot explain what it is about the Daniels style that just scratches some sort of itch for me. Their often crude and dumb humor, blended with their attention to detail in music and shot composition, works with their emotional and often gripping personal storytelling that just checks every box for me. After I watched Swiss Army Man for the first time, I was immediately hooked. It was the most creative and original thing I'd seen in a long time. And when something really gets my creative juices flowing, I guess that's the itch that I'm always trying to scratch. So, when Everything Everywhere All at Once was announced, even before knowing anything about it, I was counting down to its release. I was refreshing the A24 website, IMDb, Googling if there was any more updates. I had never been like this with the film before. I was just waiting to see if it would meet my expectations. And it did more than that. This is how Everything Everywhere All at Once inspires me. Going into this movie, knowing their previous work, I had an idea of the kind of style this movie would be. Based on the trailers, I knew there'd be some sort of multiverse aspect and some martial arts fighting and that sort of thing. So, that being said, my advice for this movie, as most movies I suggest to people, is to go in completely blind. The more you know about it, the less everything will mean once aspects of the film are revealed to you. For a movie with so many creative and unique ideas, experiencing them during the film is a magical experience. That being said, this video will contain some spoilers.
So when I met them, they're quite quiet and they look kind of harmless.
We're the directing duo Daniels.
Then before you know it, these two turn into some kind of crazy genius. And so I said yes.
The first way that I found the movie to be inspiring is creatively, meaning the film as a whole is inspiration to just be creative. This is achieved in many ways, the most obvious just being the plot and the idea alone. When I first found out about the multiverse element to this movie, I was curious as to if the movie would stand out as being completely creative, with the rise in popularity of this concept, in particular in things like the newest Marvel movies and Rick and Morty. I was interested to see how the Daniels would put their own spin on it. It is, in a strange way, grounded in reality. The multiverse system in the movie is nothing short of genius, and something I did not see coming. The concept of performing various random actions to alter your timeline in a butterfly effect type of way was very amusing and reminded me that even when ideas are tried, true, and popular, such as the multiverse idea, there are many ways in which you can alter something to make it your own. Of course, this creativity is found in many other ways as well, besides general story and plot ideas. Certain shots, such as the way the lighting cues and editing impact the way in which the viewer understands the film, are at play here. In a film that's jumping all over the place, it's important to make it obvious to the viewer which timeline they're in. And by a mixture of over-the-top costumes, prominent setting, and clear editing, it helped to drive the creativity as well as help tell the story. In their films, it almost seems like literally nothing is off limits. And that's a feeling I generally don't get with most filmmakers. However, even though they can do literally everything and anything they want to, and it makes sense in the context of their bizarre, fever dream style, they don't. They pick and choose specific situations that either serve as a hilarious joke to the audience, or service a story in some way. I haven't experienced a filmmaker who can do it the same way they can. The attention to detail here also helps to drive and reinforce and enhance the creativity to a degree. For example, when Wayman quotes, and then later in the movie you can hear it in various scenes in the background. That's a funny nod and joke in itself. But not only that, later on you can hear various different versions of the song, based on whichever timeline it appears in.
Talked about like changing it, and then we settled on keeping it, and then licensing the song and sneaking it throughout the movie instead.
This is the story of a chef, a raccoon on the top of his head. This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world. And while she looked so sad and photographs,
thought and attention to detail given in these little jokes helped to drive the creativity of the film writers, thinking of different ways to tell jokes, or just tell the story as a whole. The movie is oozing with originality and creativity, and personally, I find that to be inspiring.
We wanted to take this kind of sci-fi conceit of the multiverse and then take it to absurd places, but also take it to philosophically relatable extremes.
It asks the question, how do we pay attention to the ones we love when the universe is trying to take that attention away from them?
The next way the movie inspired me was by its blending of various styles. I will say that I do think that this movie's greatest flaw, or barrier of entry, is this blending of styles. But on the other hand, is also what helps make the movie a much more accessible, enjoyable experience to a wide variety of moviegoers. Being part sci-fi action, with an overarching, ridiculous, and funny tone in most scenes, but also having a family drama at its core, in my opinion, it blends all these styles so well and mashes them all up into something unique. Because the truth is, I never thought a film in which men who jump onto a giant butt plug like trophies and then proceed to engage in a martial arts style fight with no pants on while the butt plugs hang out from underneath them the whole fight would also make me bawl my eyes out in the theater. But this touches on what I think makes the Daniels' work so special to me. Somehow, their work manages to make me cry from laughter, but also much more of the humor in their works is used later on to give their movies some sort of deeper and emotional meaning. I think the quote from Everything Everywhere All at Once that best sums up this aura perfectly is after the initial madness of the film when Evelyn says to Joy,
Of all the places I could be, I just want to be here with you.
the emotional family drama at the center of this acid trip of a movie just hits that much harder. To me, it seems like the Daniels are able to take something intrinsically unemotional like a multiverse or a fart in Swiss Army Men and contextualize it deep in an emotional, character-driven plot. Although their movies are almost notorious at this point to be hard to start or just plain dumb, I think that the payoff of being able to see past the fart jokes or the butt plug jokes and see them as just enhancements to the overall experience of the emotional film at its core is what inspires me to do the same in my own work. It's this kind of heart that kind of leads into my final way that I find the film inspiring, and that is its heart. I mean, this is redundant in many ways, as big budget Hollywood movies even have someone's heart and soul poured into them. And if you can't find it there, you can find heart and soul in a variety of films that come out every year. Indie releases, documentaries, and that sort of thing. But what I mean by the heart of their films is how the creativity and the originality, as well as the blending of all these styles, is edited and told in such a concise and entertaining way that you can tell as a watcher how much they care about the composition of the film. To me, this is very hard to do in a movie about endless universes. It's so easy for these movies to become convoluted, complicated, and impersonal. But the Daniels care about their films a lot. And you can feel that in their expert craftsmanship from the technical side of the film, but also from the personal stories at the core of their films. Focus on making your story concise and creative and manageable. And if you care about your work, treat it with respect, it shows. Every little element of your film should be thoroughly thought about, whether that be, how is this bizarre specific Pixar joke going to pay off? Or, how are we going to incorporate Cotton Eye Joe into our soundtrack but make it sound beautiful and fit into the themes of our movie at the same time? If it isn't obvious by now, I absolutely adore the work I've seen of the Daniels and, in particular, Everything Everywhere. In fact, after I got home from the theater, I felt so creatively inspired by that film, it did inspire me to finally make a YouTube channel where I talk about things I love. So here we are. The logo from our YouTube channel right now, at the time of recording this video, is actually inspired by the use of the googly eyes in the movie. That is because, for me, the main takeaway from Everything Everywhere All at Once was that from a creative standpoint, with the right care and framing, you can make anything matter. You can give anything life and make an audience care about it. Even if it is just a boulder in the middle of a desert with googly eyes pasted on. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.